Hi everyone, welcome to this introduction to object-oriented programming with Java. Today we're just going to look at an example of how to design a class and instantiate an object or two by using the class. Okay, so we're going to start by designing a game called Hopper, the Hopper Challenge. And let's start by doing this without object-oriented programming. Okay, so this game or this challenge says that a hopper who has a name is going to be challenged to hop a certain number of times until the hopper reaches a target distance, let's say 100. Okay, so the challenge is this hopper here starts at 0 and he hasn't hopped yet, and he's going to start hopping, increasing his hop distance until he reaches the target distance. Okay, so let's jump into a loop. While the hopper's hop distance is less than the target distance, we're going to keep hopping, right? So we're going to update our hop distance plus, let's just do a random number. Let's just say between 0 and 9. So we're increasing the hop distance of the hopper, and we're also counting the number of hops that he's doing. And at the end of all that, let's just, when he's reached the target, let's just output the result. Name took num hops to reach a distance of. Okay, so there's my output. So let's run this and just see if it works. Fred took 21 hops to reach a distance of 100. Let's run it again. Whoa, is it 30 hops this time? Okay, so it is random. Now, what if we want to have two hoppers hopping? Maybe it's a competition and they're hopping against each other. What we're going to have to do is create a new hopper with a name, a hop distance, and a num hops. These are the properties of a hopper. And both of the hoppers will be trying to reach this target distance. Okay? So I'm going to have to create 3 new variables and just change a few things here. It gets a little bit messy. A nice approach is to use the power of object-oriented programming. We know that each hopper has a name, a hop distance, and a number of hops. Brilliant. Okay, so let's manage that data through hopper objects instead of these independent variables in our computer program. So let's look at how to do that. I'm going to create a new class called Hopper. And we're going to define hoppers. The first thing we need to identify are hopper attributes. And we know that every hopper has a name, a hop distance, and a number of hops. So I will be using data hiding. Private string name, private int hop distance, that's the distance that the hopper has hopped during the game, and private int num hops, the number of hops that the hopper has hopped during the game. we also now need to design our constructor method. Now, when I say constructor method, what I mean is, in my main program, I'm going to start again, and I'm actually going to create an instance of the hopper class. It'll look something like this. Now remember, Fred, or the hopper, has three attributes: a name, a hop distance, maybe the hop distance starts at 0, and the number of hops. Maybe when we construct a hopper for the first time, the hop distance and the number of hops is 0. And of course, if we have a game, we could have two hoppers, Fred and Max, hopping against each other. And at the start of the game, the hop distance for both frogs will be 0, and the number of hops will be 0 as well. There's always 0. So in our constructor method, we could say, okay, now remember, a constructor method has the same name as the class. That's really how we know that it's a constructor method of the class. So let's send it a string, which is its name. So that will be this bit here. If we send it Fred, this data, when we construct the hopper object, is going to be stored in this attribute here. Okay? Done. The attribute name will be assigned the parameter. Now what are we going to do to initialize hop distance and num hops? Because it's always 0, let's just assign them 0 in the constructor method. Done. So in my main program, I only have one parameter when I construct a hopper. So let's just get rid of those other two parameters, and hopefully the error lines will go away. So every time we construct a new hopper, we call the constructor method, we give it some data, the constructor method wakes up, it grabs the data, assigns it to a class attribute, and also we're doing some other assignments as well. So that's the design of our constructor method. Now because we're using data hiding, I need to create some accessor methods for these private attributes, because a main program will want to update those attributes as the game is being played. Okay? So let's make an accessor method, public string get name. This will return this.name. And we'll make another accessor method, public int get hop distance. That will return the hop distance attribute. And also we will have a final constructor method for the numHops attribute. Done. Now of course, during the game, the hop distance and numHops will be changing. But we've made these attributes private, so we can't change them. We can only change them through mutator methods. So the mutator methods of the hopper class, I'm going to design one called public void, I'm not going to return anything, set hop distance. How are we going to design this? There are quite a few ways we could do this. Basically, we want to update this .hop distance, which is our property up here, our attribute. We want to give it a new value. There are many ways we could do this. We could have some data coming in from, for example, the main program, and we can add that to the current hop distance. Let's do it this way for now. There are many ways to do this. So we're using this method to change the value of the hop distance. And let's do another one for numHops. Now, every time we call this method for the hopper that we're processing, we're just going to add one to it. Okay, this .numHops will be equal to this .numHops plus 1. It just means we hopped. Okay, I could rename this method, let's just call it hop. When we hop, we increase the number of hops by 1. So let's just do it that way for now. But this is a mutator method. That is the design of my hopper class. That's it. Every hopper has these attributes. We can construct hopper objects in our main program, and then we can process hopper data by using these accessor and mutator methods. So let's have a look at how this works. Let's redesign the game. We've got our 2 hopper objects, so we no longer need this. We still need a target distance, because the game has a target distance. Now then, let's do a loop just for one hopper, and then you can figure out how to create a game. Okay, let's just focus on Fred. While Fred.get hop distance, while Fred's distance is less than the target distance, we're going to hop. Now, how are we going to hop? We need to call Fred's set hop distance method. Now remember, I suggested to you that one way to do this is to give it some data, as it needs a parameter here. Do you remember the design? Set hop distance. Set hop distance processes an integer from somewhere, takes that integer and it adds it to the current hop distance. The question is, what is that integer? I could just do this. Every time he hops 10 units. That will update Fred's hop distance by 10. Okay. I also want to update Fred's number of hops. So we're going to call Fred's, I called it hop, didn't I? We're going to call the hop method. So when we call the hop method, Fred's number of hops will increase by 1. That's all it does. Okay. Now, the name, Fred does have a name. We're going to use this reference variable, Fred. This is allowing us to communicate with the hopper object. This is the reference variable, and this is the object that it's communicating with. So every hopper object has a getName method, and every Fred object has a getNumHops method, and the target distance is a variable within our game. So let's run this and see if it works. Yay! Now, unfortunately, Fred is always going to take 10 hops to reach the target distance, because we're always updating his hop distance by 10 units. It'd be nice if this was random. A couple of ways we could do that. Let's just create a random number and then send that random number into, oops, I put a hop, didn't I? Send a random number into the set hop distance method. And now if we run the program, 21 hops, 21 hops, 26 hops, 25 hops. Okay, so we're randomizing things a little bit now. Another way to do it is to say, okay, every time we call set hop distance, we do this action inside the method set hop distance. Create a random number and then add that random number to the hop distance. We could do everything inside the method, so we no longer need this parameter. We can just do it that way. That's another way to do it. Coding is a creative enterprise, so you just have to solve the problem as meaningfully as you can. So your challenge now is to design a game where Fred and Max compete to see who can reach the target distance first and output the result. Let's see if you can figure it out.